Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast on a Monday evening. It must mean it's time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, how are you doing on this spring? It's we're definitely definitively in spring, this spring evening.
Oh, I'm doing just fine over here. It feels kind of the same over here. I didn't. Are we officially in spring? I didn't know
Yeah,
notice that. I guess.
March 21st, 22nd-ish, somewhere around there. So
Oh, okay.
we're deep into spring.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. Again, here in LA, you're kind of in a weird uh, perpetual time loop of it being sort of summery, kind of cold summery. That's about it, for the most part. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I lose track of seasons, which again I miss a lot being raised in Utah, but you know. I don't miss having 75-degree weather,
I mean,
So,
if you want to experience seasons, come to Georgia. For the last month, we've experienced all four seasons, one day each.
oh
Like
man, now
spring,
that's rough.
summer, fall, winter, spring. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like over the weekend, it got into the mid 80s, and now today it didn't get out of the low 60s, right? And that's just
Mm,
the way it's been actually, frankly, for months down here. It has been the oddest winter I've ever lived through down here. And admittedly, I've
yeah,
only, but
I mean, if we're talking D and D, if we're gonna talk about D&D speak, my constitution wouldn't be able to handle the roller coaster of weather that happens, and I would be considered, I would be having to do life check type rolls, like
yeah.
every couple of weeks. I can't remember what the name for that is, but yeah. Whereas I think you have a better constitution than I do, the way you can actually handle that.
You get used to it after a while. I mean, I don't like it, but you get used to it. Just like you can get used to a lot of things, unfortunately. Human beings
Yeah,
are
yeah,
highly adaptable creatures, for better or worse. But speaking of
yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons,
Hmm.
the movie was fun. I liked the movie a lot.
Yeah, you and I were talking about this over the weekend a little bit. So you
Yeah.
could tell me to at least look up reviews and stuff like that. But yeah, it's getting favorable reviews, and you gave it your blessing. I mean, you play D&D,
I have played
I play
D&D, yeah.
yeah, and I play D&D. I know about the lingo, and so I was worried myself. I was worried that they were going to turn into like a pop culture version of an interpretation of D&D and not be true. But you were pretty much after seeing it,
Yeah.
you don't spell
No,
that worried from
it
my mind.
definitely did not get to like Big Bang Theory mockery, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The guys who wrote it and directed it actually spent a lot of time with Hasbro, the people who own Dungeons and Dragons now, consulting with them and working with them and making sure that things were accurate. They really did, for my money at least, show a lot of respect to the property. Admittedly, like I've never DM'd anything. I'm not like hardcore DM a Dungeons and Dragons guy, but
Hmm.
I did enjoy it. And I know enough about it to be dangerous. And so watching it, I understood what was going on and it was cool. I mean, it was fun. Was it the best movie ever? No. Was the script pretty by the books and predictable? Yes. But were the characters
Hmm.
really likable? Yeah.
Hmm.
Were the fact that they used a bunch of practical effects instead of crappy Marvel CG effects? Yeah, it was almost entirely practical, except where it absolutely couldn't be, right?
Yeah,
Um, but it was great. I mean, it was super fun. Chris Pine has just got a bottomless amount of charisma, right?
yeah.
So
He
he was
does.
great.
Yeah,
Um,
they cast the bard perfectly. I thought
yeah,
he
yeah,
plays the role of the bard, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, uh, um, Michelle Rodriguez was phenomenal as the barbarian. Like it was the role she was born to play.
Hmm. Hmm.
Justice Smith, who I've only ever seen in Detective Pikachu,
Hmm.
he was really good as sort of the imposter syndrome mage. Hugh
Hmm.
Grant was great as the villainous rogue.
Hmm.
Um, and is a guy that I've seen in a few places, like Jean Rene. Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember his name. I've only seen him a couple of times, but he played the paladin, and he was great. I mean, he's like this really good-looking, really fit guy with these piercing eyes, and they put him in this really shiny armor, and then he plays this flawless paladin. But he plays it
Uh-huh.
so good, right? They play it totally straight, but they're
Hmm.
very aware of how ridiculously perfect this character is, and so they kind of
Uh-huh.
poke fun at it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
super fun. I mean, again, it does not stray into the territory of mockery.
Mm.
It has fun with it. It's a little silly, but it doesn't mock the property. It's very, very reverent and respectful of Dungeons and Dragons.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
So my worries are dispelled based on what you're telling me, and then again, review. I know reviews you have to take with a grain of salt, but it's been pretty favorable. So we'll. I think the means and I will eventually go see it. Maybe we'll see it this coming weekend. If it's, that's the whole other thing is movies. You don't even know how long they stay in theaters anymore at
oh,
this
I know
point.
these
But
days they go by real fast. I mean, that being said,
yeah,
like, you saw John Wick 4 in theaters, and that's an important movie to see in theaters. I saw it again yesterday,
absolutely.
actually.
Yeah.
Um, Dungeons and Dragons, if you can see it in theaters, obviously the sound and the big screen is always great. Like, I'd
Mhm.
watch When Harry Met Sally. I'd prefer to watch When Harry Met Sally in a theater than at home. So it doesn't, I'm not the
Yeah.
best like person to come to about this, but if you can see it in theaters, obviously go see it in theaters. But it's not a movie that's like, oh my god, you're
You
missing
must see it in
something in
theater. Yeah.
theaters. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean John Wick 4 is like
Yeah.
you need to see this in theaters.
Yeah. 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 Let's continue that John Wick 4 discussion real quick. Let me
Oh
go
yeah,
get us some
what are we working on
noodles.
tonight? Yeah.
Let's see. I am going to resume back to work with Calamity, the kind of the close up shot of her head up, and then I'm gonna do some mouth packs today based on this pose. So yeah, we'll go from there. So
Okay.
right now I barely started doing a little bit from our last session, so I will continue on with that.
Mm-hmm. That looks good. That looks
Um,
good. So
yeah,
yes. So while you work on that, so you wanted to circle back around to John Wick 4.
yeah, yeah. It was excellent. It's probably the best. Even 2 days removed. Like I was trying to think, like, am I just is it recency bias or what? But no, it's still probably the best action movie ever made at this point. It has everything you need. It has we were talking about with Dungeons and Dragons, the practical effects are really well done. Special effects, they don't get in the way of
Mm-hmm.
anything. They're just there to help enhance the story. The scenes, the setups, the backdrops. It's just a excellent movie, and I was surprised I held with it for 3 hours straight, and it was just a terrific movie from beginning to end.
Yeah, for sure. I again, like I said, I saw it again on Sunday,
Hmm.
and it holds up. I mean, like second watching, it's sort of the ones like, oh, it's getting to this part now, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, good, Kane's coming back on screen. I mean, Donnie Yen is so great, and he was just peak Donnie Yen in this movie. I mean, just
Uh-huh.
God, I love that actor. I'm.
Yeah,
It's a shame that he didn't find more. I mean, maybe he wasn't seeking it, but like he could have been in a different era the biggest American action star. I mean, even though he's not American, he's Chinese, but or he's in Hong Konger, I think. Um,
yeah.
but I mean,
I think I think his story was he was born in China,
hmm
uh, lived in Hong Kong, and then eventually was raised in Boston,
oh
of all
really?
places.
Oh
And his
wow.
I think his father was like a teacher, and his mother was a martial arts champion
Yes, his
guru
mother
type
was a
person.
yeah. His mother was like she's
Yeah,
like a world renowned martial arts
yeah.
champion. Yeah.
And on top of all that, like, so I looked at again because of the resonance of the movie, I was like just kind of fanboying a little bit, but he's 60 years old.
I know. It's
Unbelievable.
unbelievable. I know.
He's the best. He's the one that looks the most adept at fighting in the entire
hmm
movie for the most part. I
Well, I mean,
mean,
John Wick. I mean, not John Wick. Keanu Reeves is 55 when he filmed
yeah, he
that,
looks great. He looked great
right?
too.
Yeah,
Uh,
and Hiroyuki Sanada is in his late 50s. Maybe he's even in his 60s too, right? I mean,
it's just
it's
so
just like these
ridiculous.
guys are just unbelievable, right? What they're
Yeah,
capable of.
yeah,
Well, I mean, and
yeah.
just not to even single them out, like Charlize Theron, I think is in her early 50s now, isn't she? And
Yeah.
she
Oh,
just still
oh,
kicks major ass, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
she's
Any movie that
still
she
great.
does out, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Which is a shame because I don't want to get off topic, but it's a shame that they're not having her cast as Furiosa in the next
Yeah, I know. Doing a prequel instead
movie
of a
as a
sequel,
whole.
especially given I mean, we've talked about this at length. I just don't like Anya Taylor-Joy, honestly. I just I don't know.
Yeah.
She's so basic to use a common parlance.
Mm.
I'm really super disappointed actually that she's playing Peach in Super Mario Brothers. We
Mm.
talked about this online. It would have been way funnier if they had that hyper
Yeah.
feminine, high pitched voice that she has in the video games, but then she still kicks so much ass, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. That's even funnier
that would be
that way. The
way funnier.
juxtaposition.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
exactly.
juxtaposition makes it even more insulting when she's kicking somebody's
Right,
butt.
exactly. So I think
Yeah.
there's a real loss of an opportunity there, but what are you gonna do? That comes out I think on
Yeah.
Wednesday. So
I am not in a hurry
yeah,
to see that one.
I
Sadly, for
I
me,
will. Yeah, yeah. I
I don't
am
know
going
how
to
you feel
go
about it.
because I mean I have to go.
Yeah, it's part of your job, right?
It is
Anyway,
well,
I
it's part of
mean,
my job, and it's also part of my sort of own personal brand to a certain extent.
you
Um,
need to see a Nintendo-made movie,
I,
is what you're saying.
I do. I'm required by law. When I sold my soul to Nintendo, that was part of the contract.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I will go
Yeah,
see it
yeah.
if only because I feel like I'm obligated to.
I
But
never.
I have very low expectations.
I think that's the biggest difference. Is young Eric? Well, I can say that you're. I've known you some, at least
You've known me for a
younger.
long
Okay,
time. Since
I'm
what,
gonna use this term.
2006, 2007,
Yeah.
something like that. So you've
Oh
known
my
me a
God. I
while.
mean, young Eric would have used the exact same phrase that you would have, but would be ecstatic to see this movie. I think. I think you'd be all super pumped and can't
Maybe.
wait to see it. Maybe I don't
Maybe.
know. That's what I was
Time,
thinking. Like you're a lot more cautious with your
yeah.
optimism now.
Time as a way of tempering even the greatest of passions.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll wait for video or something like that.
I mean, I want
I
to be
like.
surprised. You know, I would love to like it. I mean, speaking of Nintendo-ish movies, I mean, Detective Pikachu I enjoyed.
Yeah,
Going back
yeah,
to Justice Smith. It's one of the few Ryan Reynolds movies I actually like.
yeah.
I mostly
Um,
don't like him.
I saw it. I enjoyed it. I still found, and I like Ryan Reynolds. I like a lot of the other stuff that he does. Like there's a show that he has on I think Hulu with the soccer team that him and his friend bought Wrexham or something like that. It's
Okay.
just like a fun little kind of docudrama kind of a show about buying a team, being Americans, and like being the outsiders and
hmm
like having to deal with a small little town that's very protective of their team. It's really a fun little show, kind of on the
Hmm.
side. Just
I did
the
not know about
whole
that one.
yeah, it's pretty fun to watch. And then and then of course Deadpool.
Well, yeah,
Was
Deadpool and Deadpool 2 I like. Yeah, I like both
yeah
of those.
yeah, but there's something about his I don't know what the term would be, smarmy. The way he kind of it just takes away from to me it took away from Pikachu. Um, it, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it as much. I like Justice Smith. I thought he was terrific
Yeah, yeah,
playing
he was super
opposite
fun. Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds. But yeah, I thought it was okay. It was good. It was pretty much what I thought it would be. By the time I left the theater with it, it was good. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I didn't immediately go out and buy another ticket, right? And I certainly
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
own
yeah,
it on
yeah.
Blu-ray or anything, but I had
Uh,
a good time. I think I enjoyed it better than my niece and nephew did.
really, and they're
They,
at that phase where they
they
want to enjoy
neither
stuff like
one
that,
of them
right?
ever particularly got into Pokemon.
Oh, okay.
They had a very, very brief dalliance with it, but weirdly, the people that I know who still like Pokemon are all in their 30s and older.
Yeah, they're older. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, which is such an odd thing. I mean, it's not surprising. I guess they probably grew up with it just like I did. I mean, the original Pokemon came out in the United States in 1998, the same year as the
Mm-hmm.
cartoon did. So, um, you
Blue,
know,
Blue and Red came out in 1998.
in the U.S. in the States, it did. Yeah,
Huh. Okay.
I think
For
it
some reason I thought it
was.
was earlier than that.
I think it was 96 in Japan. Maybe it wasn't
Okay.
quite that long. Hold on.
Hmm.
Pokemon Green release date Japan.
So Green was
Yeah,
the
I was
first
right.
one, the very first.
Green and Red in Japan, and I was
Okay,
right.
and
It
then
was
Blue.
1996, and
Okay.
then a year after '97, the anime premiered, And then Nintendo slash the Pokemon Company realized that they could make a fortune off of this by bringing it to the States. So they did. And so the game came out almost exactly the same time that the TV show came out.
Oh, jeez, man, they're evil.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the 1-2 punch, right? I mean, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Um,
Wow.
and it's interesting, actually. Like, it actually worked so well. I've actually met people who thought that the game was inspired on the anime
Oh, okay.
because their marketing was so brilliant around it. And they kind of did too, right? Like they released Pokemon Yellow after the fact, which was inspired by
Hmm.
the anime because Jesse and I don't remember, and the
Jesse and
Meowth,
James.
Jesse and
Yeah,
James,
Jesse
yeah,
James. Yeah.
and Meowth, they were in Pokemon Yellow, and instead of the Squirtle, Charmander, or Bulbasaur, you got a Pikachu, right?
Hmm.
So it was very much inspired by the anime. So I can understand the confusion, but know that the game did in fact come first.
Hmm. Yeah, for some reason in my head, I just thought that it came out like '95 or something like that, and then Yellow came out like '98. But yeah, I mean, it's all a blur. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's yeah, it's funny like with Pokemon, what's going on with it now because they can pretty much print money now. They can release a buggy game on the Switch and have everybody get really angry about it, but they still can print that money,
yeah,
and
yeah.
um, and they have the three-pronged attack with physical game, digital game, and TV and film. Like they're they're a juggernaut at this point. I don't know how. I don't think anything will top them at this
No, I mean,
point.
there's been a lot of pretenders to the throne. I mean, I think that the closest that anybody got, honestly, was Digimon.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and there are some other ones. The one that I have kind of not kind of I have completely cooled on Pokemon. Um,
Really? Hmm.
yeah, I haven't. The last Pokemon game I played was Pokemon Legends of Arceus, which I get isn't that long ago. I mean, that was on the
Hmm.
Switch. It was
Yeah.
like last year, but I bought that less because I was super excited about it, but more because I was going through a really, really tough period of time and I needed just something to distract myself. And
Yeah.
it was the only thing that I was even marginally interested in at the time. So I picked it up and I played it to completion. I beat the storyline and then, you know, I didn't keep playing, right? And
Hmm.
a whole piece of Pokemon is like once you finish the story, that's when like the real game starts where you start building teams. But Pokemon Arceus didn't have a multiplayer, so there was really no reason to keep playing after you beat the story. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I played through it for about 20 hours, finished it, deleted it off my Switch, and that was the last time I played Pokemon.
And never looked back
Never,
again, huh?
yeah, I didn't get into Sword and Shield. I didn't get into the new ones, which I don't even remember what they're called. Scarlet
Yeah.
and Azure or something, I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, anyway, yeah, I just kind of cooled on Pokemon. The closest I've come back to that style of RPG, honestly, is Monster Hunter Stories,
Hmm.
um, which are the first one really fun. I played the second one for a while and then got distracted by something else. I've been meaning to go back to it since forever, and I'm sure I'll get to it. But I liked it, and I particularly because you know me, I'm just a horrible Monster Hunter nerd.
Hmm.
I particularly like that I'm collecting Monster Hunter monsters, right, in this very fun, cartoony graphics style.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just that whole kind of gotta catch 'em all compulsive gameplay loop. It's
It's gone
not,
for you, huh?
yeah, it's not as exciting to me as it used to be.
It's for me, I never got onto the Pokemon, caught on the Pokemon wave. It was just past. I was probably not the right age, or I'm not sure. I just never got into it.
Mm-hmm.
But oddly enough, I mean, but I really appreciated it as a game. I thought it was a great game. I just feel like when I was playing, it's like, oh, this is just another RPG game, except for I'm collecting monsters. To me, I mean, I was just
Mm-hmm.
very dismissive
Mm-hmm.
of it. But then, oddly enough, on my Switch, the game that has the highest amount of hours on it is Pokemon Unite.
Unite, yeah.
So they still got me way much later on in my life with that stupid game. it's actually really it's a really fun game, but it's a free to play. It has all the troperies that you kind of see. It's a free to play game, so you're worried about spending money. I've never spent a dime in that game,
Mm-hmm.
but I just think it's such a fun. And but I came from playing Dota and Dota 2, so I was looking for another MOBA type of game, mobile battle arena type of game, and they released Unite, and Unite kind of hits all the areas that I like that I want in my life right now, which is short matches. They're 10 minutes. You don't have to commit to anything like with these sweeping battles that last like an hour or 45 minutes. Nope, 10 minutes and you're out, and then you go on to the next one, and you can keep your items like you kind of build up your items outside of the battle itself, and then you can kind of keep taking them back into battle. Like there's so many mechanics in the game that I think are really fun. I mean, now it does go through a lot of complaints and grumpiness when they release new Pokemon into the game, and then they have to go and they have to test that, and then they have to deal with the fact that some of these Pokemon are overpowered right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's like there's Comfy, and I think it's pronounced Zacian, Zacian or something like that. Are you familiar with that one? Yeah, I would rely on your Pokedex knowledge for that one.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you're way out. You're way outside of my knowledge at this point.
yeah, but Comfy, you never heard of a Comfy
Comfy, I
Pokemon?
know. Yeah.
Okay.
Right? What does it
Is
look
it
like?
comfy?
What does it look like
It's like a
again?
little ring. It's like a little ring with flowers on it or something like that. Or a
Oh
flower. It's
yeah,
a flower. Flower
yeah. Yeah,
Pokemon.
that was in that was in Pokemon Arceus, but I don't remember the first game that it showed up in. But yeah,
Okay.
I know the one.
And I'm probably butchering the name, but Zacian is a character that's kind of it's a quadruped, four-legged animal type thing that
Quadruped,
looks kind
yeah.
of majestic. Yeah, it's like majestic looking and has a sword in its mouth, and it fights with this sword in its mouth.
Oh, that's one of the legendaries from Sword and Shield.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like
okay.
blue and it looks kind of like a
Yep.
lion. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
blue
that
and
was.
whitish and yellowish or
Yeah,
something like
yeah, yeah.
that.
That was the legendary. That was one of the legendary monsters from Sword and Shield. That's
Oh man.
appropriately enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, some people are complaining about these two being overpowered. I'm still able to win matches with my Venusaur build, but
Mm-hmm.
it's fine. But I'm not that. But that, I mean, it's just the nature of it. Is that whenever they release a new Pokemon, there's always people that it's just part of the deal with humans. We want to complain about something, I guess, when it's new and you're not used to it. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe I plugged in 300 hours. Monster Hunter though, I was looking at my hours on that one. I'm at 220 hours on that game.
Dang. Okay. Much
I'm
respect.
catching. I'm catching up to you or something. Maybe on Switch, not
Mm.
overall. Your Monster Hunter lifetime.
Well, my Monster Hunter lifetime numbers are in the thousands of hours, but
But on the Switch,
on the Switch I'm
yeah, I put
at
a.
350 now. So
Oh, see, I'm catching up to you. It's only a matter of
yeah,
time,
I know. I
but
didn't even know
maybe
you were
not
playing
because
it still.
yeah, I still play it. With my nephews, I got them into it, and then it kind of brought me back into it. So now I'm
Mm-hmm.
playing it again, and and I'm chasing that. I'm always chasing those bills for new dual blade
Oh,
sets, to kind of
yeah.
enhance.
It's so funny.
So
My friend Steven, I got him into it too. I spread the
yeah,
virus. I'm a carrier,
yeah,
and
yeah, you are, man.
and yeah, it got me back into it too. And there was just so much content still. Not so much, but there was still a fair amount of content that I
Hmm.
hadn't unlocked, and I finally did. But you have to get really, really far into the game. But you unlock these super powerful mega bosses called Risen Elder Dragons, which are more powerful versions of already impossibly difficult monsters to fight. But it's actually cool though. I mean, again, by this point you're unlocking these monsters, and it's not. It unlocks a new armor set, right? So there is value in beating them if you can.
Hmm.
But it's not like it's not like I'm struggling to beat most monsters. This one monster that I've got that I'm fighting right now, I had to custom build an armor for it because it's so difficult. I needed to like build something specifically to fight this one particular monster, which is by design at this level. Um,
Now, so and that's an is that an elder dragon you said? What is
yeah,
it?
and Elder Dragon is for anybody. I would assume most people who are going to watch this don't really know anything about Monster Hunter, but the Elder Dragons, those are the ones. Those are like the big bads. Those are the storyline monsters, like the final boss encounters of the game, right? Chameleos, Teostra, Kushala Deora, Shagadu
Val,
Magala,
Valstrax.
Valstrax is an Fatalis and all of Fatalis's forms, Valkana. I mean, the list goes on and on and
Mm-hmm.
on. But uh, um, so yeah, so they're hard monsters just on their own. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you get to this certain point, it unlocks the Risen version of them, which has a couple of new moves, hits harder, has way more HP, and it's you have to build custom armor to fight each one, which is cool. I mean,
Wow.
it's yeah, um, but you don't need to though. I mean, like this is something that like you have to. Like I said, I mean, I didn't unlock the first one of these, and I've only unlocked one of them. This isn't something that you can unlock until you've put something like 350 hours into the game. So if you're at hour 350, you're pot committed at this point, right? So anyway, um, it's fun. I have yet to beat the first one that I unlocked, and it's not my fault anymore. I've been playing online, and I built my
Mm-hmm.
custom armor, and I'm fine. I can survive the thing now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But everybody else who comes into it dies, and you only have three deaths
Mm-hmm.
across your entire team,
Yep.
and then you fail the mission. And so I'm thinking I'm just gonna have to solo it because like I'm not the one dying. It's all the other people in the mission who are the ones dying at this point.
Yeah, they're probably just trying to learn how to fight the monster at that point too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
well, not learning how to fight it. They probably fought it enough, but yeah, the one shit hit. I'm sure there's still. I'm sure those monsters are one hit killing people left and right with a certain
Yeah,
move
I
or
mean
whatever.
the first one you unlock in particular is called a Chameleos, and it is
Mm-hmm.
got a poison called venom, which is extremely potent, and if you're not careful, it will kill you so fast. And he's got these moves that are they stun you very easily. And so
And then yeah.
if he causes venom and then you're stunned, but by the time you can recover from the stun, the venom has already killed you, right? And so that's kind of the thing. So I built a build that's highly resistant to all poison afflictions, and so I'm okay. Plus I buffed up my defense, and so I've got defense out the wazoo, and so I can survive the hits and I can survive the venom, and so I'm golden, right?
hmm hmm
But I just don't think the other people that I'm playing with are they haven't gotten into the minutia the way I have. I guess is the only thing I can figure.
Well, another 100 hours, maybe I'll catch up to you, and then you and I can fight that monster together at a certain point,
Yeah.
or unlock. I'll have to unlock it, I guess, but at some point.
Well, you said you're master rank 1.
Yeah, I'm Master Rank One, so I have a
You
ways to
unlock
go.
you unlock the Risen Chameleos at master rank 110. So
But
you only have 109 ranks to go. So you're well on your way. You're well
I
on
think
your way.
if I focus this week and I play, maybe I can get the Master Rank Three. So yeah, I've got it'll get there. I'll get there.
I mean, it took me 100 hours because I think I did all of Vanilla Monster Hunter Rise in like 250 hours,
Uh-huh.
and I'm at 350 hours now. So it took me about 100 hours to get to where I am in Sunbreak. So
hmm
I mean, I think you can do it less. I played with my friend Steven a lot, and I
hmm
just did a lot of master rank hunts with him because I was trying to get him through the base game.
hmm
So, but anyway, yeah. I mean, it takes a while to get that far in. So, but I'm not really like I've got a million games. I'm not looking to buy any new games.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, why not? Just enjoy this one until I'm done enjoying it, and then I move on to the next one.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I don't know if there's any rumors about a new Monster Hunter coming out anytime soon. Anyway, right?
No, I mean, I'm certain there will
Um,
be, but they just released Rise on PS5 and Xbox Series X, so
oh yeah.
there's
So
no way that they're gonna announce a new Monster Hunter Rise after immediately releasing that.
yeah.
we might hear something by the end of this year, and my only
Hmm.
hope is that it's not like a PS5 exclusive or something like that. Because if it is, then I'll have to buy a PS5, and I don't want to buy a PS5.
We don't want that. No way.
So
Ugh.
yeah, we'll see what happens. But I mean, the Switch is 7 years old at this point, and you know, it's an aging system, and I'm sure that they'll release a new iteration of it at some point. But who knows when that's going to be?
Hmm.
Um, and so they will do another Monster Hunter, of course. That's inevitable.
Hmm.
Um, but if it's on the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, I'll have to pick up one of those platforms when I have money to do it.
So the thing that's kind of weird is like they launched it on the Switch exclusively first, right?
No, I
Uh,
mean it was like Switch for a couple of months, then Steam, and then it was on just Switch and Steam for a year, or maybe even more than a year, and then they released it on PS5. My
okay.
understanding is Nintendo paid a crap load of money to keep
Just
it
to keep.
on their console exclusive on their platform for a while.
Hmm.
And it makes sense because at this point, the only people who are getting Monster Hunter Rise on the Xbox or the PS5 are fanboys of Xbox and PS5, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like if you don't want to play it on a console and you want to have like slightly better graphics, well then it's been on PC for over a year, right? And
Hmm.
so the only people who are at this point haven't played Monster Hunter Rise are Xbox and Sony fanboys, right? The ones that
Hmm.
only own those platforms.
Hmm.
Um, or I guess people who played it on Switch but then want to play it on prettier graphics and don't have a gaming quality PC, right? But that's a
Hmm.
pretty specific subset of people, I suspect.
Yeah. Um.
Anywho, so yeah, so I don't. I would imagine that the earliest we'd even start hearing rumblings of a new Monster Hunter would be at the end of this year.
The thing about Capcom too is I think they're getting to a point where it feels like they've really hit their stride with that particular franchise. I mean, Monster Hunter, I mean, they've had a really, I mean, I hate talking stocks and stuff here, but they had a really good quarter, just based on blurs I saw, where uh, they're they're sitting pretty in the bank for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with their IP, which is pretty much what Street Fighter,
Street
plus
Fighter, Resident Evil, and Monster Hunter are the big
yeah,
three,
and RE4 they just did the remaster of it, and people
which people
ate
seem
that
to
up.
love. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna buy it. I've got 10 games in my backlog that I'm gonna get through
yeah,
before I buy any more video games at this point. But yeah, I mean, I've looked at it. It looks really pretty. We've talked about this again at length. I've never been a huge Resident Evil 4 fan, so the remake
yeah.
didn't.
I loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. It's gotten obviously stellar reviews.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's probably my favorite one out of the versions I played. I played up to six. I couldn't even get through past the first few, like the first hour of six. I couldn't stand it.
yeah, wasn't it
I
like
think
an
it's the
anthology? It was sort of like all
I
these
don't.
different vignettes of all these different
Yeah,
characters.
it's been a while, but it didn't capture me like it did number four. Five was okay, but it wasn't. It was great for multiplayer if you have a friend you're playing with. It's perfect for that. But four was to me was the perfect version of out of the franchise. Out of all of them that I played. But I don't. I have no idea about the rest of them. Like how many they've done. So many. It feels like since six that I can't even keep up. They keep renaming them. They call them different things. I don't know what they're.
Yeah, I mean they've done the two first-person iterations, Resident Evil 7 and
Okay.
8.
Hmm.
I played 7. I didn't beat it. It was fine. I just kind of got bored with it, honestly. It was very pretty. I liked it visually, but and I like the sort of the premise of it's almost like Texas Chainsaw Massacre the game to a certain extent.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I like that. It's just I guess I get fatigued of jump scares,
Hmm.
and that's really I mean like in video games it's really the only way to scare people is jump scares. Like you can't do a psychological horror game Psychological horror just doesn't work in video games, in my opinion.
What about like Alan Wake, for example?
I never
you
found
consider
it.
that more
I
like
never
that
found
stuff?
it scary.
Hmm.
It was great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved Alan Wake. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was really fun, and I thought the world that they created was really cool. But I was never scared in Alan
Hmm.
Wake. Um, I don't. There's never been a game that I can think of that has gotten under my skin at an existential level, like something like Silence of the Lambs, for
Hmm.
instance.
Hmm.
Right? I've never felt that kind of creeping dread in a video game the way I do in a movie like that. Um,
Hmm.
so I played Resident Evil 7 for a while, and frankly, I just got tired of going, ugh, right? Because you're playing with headphones, and then something crashes through a wall that you have no idea is going to crash through the wall. And I was just like, okay, I'm
Yeah,
done with
yeah.
this. I mean, really, what I need to do is like watch a Let's Play so I know where all the jump scares are. So I can go, okay, here comes a jump scare, great, and I can keep enjoying the game. But the jump scares I just find very distracting, right?
So you enjoyed it for the first little bit, and after a while, you just kind of got
Yeah, I
tired of
got
it because then you had to, yeah,
yeah, I got
because you were
fatigued.
anticipating
Yeah.
when's the next jump scare gonna happen, and then you got worn
Mm-hmm.
out. So
Mm-hmm.
what about So for me, the my favorite horror video game is still probably Dead Space. I think at this point, that's the first one
Mm-hmm.
that comes to mind. That one had a ton of jump scares in it, but there was a sense of dread with it too when you're walking down those corridors. It's
Yeah, that's a good
down
point.
these.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're right. I mean, Dead Space and Dead Space 2, I
Hmm.
think the closest that ever really made me feel unsettled, right?
Yeah.
And Dead Space did have jump scares. I'm not going to deny it, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I think the game for me was more fun than Resident Evil 7 too. So my tolerance
Yeah.
for the jump scares was higher. I feel like.
You know what's interesting about Dead Space is, so to me, Resident Evil 4, the controls are what you want in a video game to run around and be reflexive and reactive with. But Dead Space, his suit was part of the story. Like
Mm-hmm.
it made sense why he was clunky. So then, at least in my mind, I was totally fine with it being more clunky controls, awkward looking when he was moving around. Like it just adds more to the story. It's such a really well made game.
Mm-hmm.
I went into. Um,
Yeah, the
yeah.
the guy, the creative director on that project, went off and he made recently a sort of spiritual successor called the Calypso Protocol. I want to say it was
Oh.
apparently awful. It was
Oh,
apparently
bummer.
just god awful bad. And then, in particular, since EA has announced the remake of the first Dead Space, which is I don't think it's out yet, but it's been getting really good buzz.
Yeah, a lot of people. I think people are just hungry to play it again. I never understood this with remasters, remakes. I mean, I get it with Metroid Prime being so long, but Dead Space feels like it came out like 10 years ago. Does it really need a remaster this soon? Maybe in
Oh,
video game life it does. It
yeah.
needs it sooner. I don't know. It just feels like it came out.
Well, let's
I
take a
mean,
look.
not like 20 years ago, but more like 10 to
2008.
okay. So
So,
yeah, 12ish years, something like that.
it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Um, Callisto Protocol, not Calypso Protocol. Callisto.
Mm.
Anyway, it wasn't good by all accounts. I don't.
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't have the budget to do the same thing you could do with Dead Space, but Dead Space was made by a different studio that did stuff. I mean,
It was done
EA
by.
published it, right?
It was done by.
Insomniac? No, not
No,
Insomniac.
no, no. Not. I keep wanting to say Volition, but it wasn't Volition. It was Volition.
Visceral.
Visceral. Thank
Visceral
you. I
Games.
knew it started
Yeah,
with a V. Yeah, Visceral
yeah.
Games.
We figured out between the two of us. We'll figure it out.
We got there. We have
Yeah, but
enough.
yeah.
We have enough stupid knowledge of video games to narrow it down. No, the original
Yeah, but
developer of a
Visceral.
12-year-old video game.
Yeah, but Visceral got bought out by EA, right? Then they
Yeah,
just kind of
Visceral got bought
folded.
up by EA. And they did a couple. I mean, they did Dead Space 2, and I don't know if they did Dead Space 3 or not. It certainly wasn't the
Okay.
same team that did Dead Space 3. And they also
Okay.
did the Dante's Inferno God of War
It's a
clone.
great. I love that game. I
So,
really enjoyed that game.
so yeah, those I think those are their really the only thing that they really did that anybody really remembers, or at least that I remember.
Hmm. Yeah, so I mean, going down this rabbit hole of of horror games, yeah, Dead Space to me is kind of the top tier, scary, scary kind of game. And then
Yeah.
I've heard stories about, I play Slender Man. That's a typical jump scare kind of game. I mean, it's very simple, but I appreciate it for the simplicity of how it got to a lot of people, and there was a little bit of a cult of personality for that game for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was like a 15-minute flash in the pan for a video game. But there's also Amnesia Dark Descent. I never played that one, but it's because it's a first-person shooter game. But I heard people love that game. Like
Yeah,
there are
people,
people who
I
talk about
never, yeah, Amnesia, I always heard about, and it just never percolated up, Sometimes just games get away from you, and you keep
it.
going.
Yeah.
I own it. I have it on Steam, and
Hmm.
I never played it.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have it on Steam as well, and I just never installed it. And mainly, and it's the main reason is because of it being a first-person shooter, and I just can't. I know I'll just I'll get motion sickness after a while playing it, so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
never bothered. But people rave, like, and when I talk to friends that are in the games, they always rave about that game.
And maybe I should give it a shot, because that's one of the games where like you can't fight back.
Yeah.
The monsters are immortal, and so it's all about avoiding them and hiding. It's similar to Alien Isolation, um,
Hmm.
which I always was interested in, but always got everything you read about that game is it's incredibly hard. Like it's
Okay.
intentionally incredibly hard, and it's just I don't know. I only have the space in my brain for Monster Hunter in terms of incredibly hard, I guess. Um,
Hmm.
I just don't. Yeah, the thing with video games is incredibly hard just means you have to practice a lot, right?
Yeah.
To get
Yeah.
beyond
This is
the.
it's about memorization and then finding the open
Mm-hmm.
spots to do whatever, and then yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I just don't. I just don't have enough bandwidth in my brain to want to learn another difficult game. I mean, Monster Hunter
Hmm.
occupies all of the memory capacity I'm willing to devote to difficult video games. And it's interesting getting my friend Steven ramped up on Monster Hunter. It's like, yeah, I get it. I'm not bad at video games. I just don't want to get good at other video games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I
I mean,
mean, what's that?
yeah, I think we've talked about this before too. Like we're talking about Dark Souls and how you don't want to play it because of you feel like the difficulty is just artificially spiked, but yet we talk about Monster Hunter or Smash Brothers, and you're using the exact same reflexes for those.
Yeah.
So you'd be fine in a Dark Souls game, for example. But again, it doesn't really matter if you don't really find the actual game itself compelling enough to play, then there's no point. It'll be more torture than anything.
Right.
It's not fun.
And I think
So
that's what's it's coming down to, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so I'm big enough to admit when I'm wrong. Although it sounds like a false confession because I'm acknowledging that I am good enough, just don't want to commit the time to it. So I don't
No, that's what
know.
it you're just a lazy bum. You don't want to play it.
Well, okay, lazy bum, I'm happy to accept because I am a lazy bum in all things. So
Oh, me too. So it's okay. Like I said, certain games it just you don't gravitate towards them, and
yeah,
it's
yeah, it's just
how it is.
we talk about it's aesthetics. It's a lot of little things, right?
Uh huh.
That
Yeah.
equal something that's sort of greater than the whole. But anyway, yeah. So playing Monster Hunter with Steven, he sort of showed me. He's like, no, you're really fucking good at this game. Like
Yeah.
you're not. It's not that you're average. It's no, you're really good at this game because we've done. I don't know. I don't even know how many hunts we've done together at this point. We've been playing together
Mhm.
for a while now.
Mhm.
I think I've died in the over 100 hunts that we've done together.
Maybe
Once,
once.
yeah, yeah. Meanwhile,
Yeah. I
he's
mean,
like, yeah,
because I played with you a handful of times so far. I'll catch you online and we
yeah,
play a little bit. But you never die in our hunts, and I've already died once I think in the last one
yeah,
fighting a Toestra. That was
yeah.
a
We was
dragon.
fighting a Teostra, and yeah, it wasn't even that hard because we were doing a high
Well, for me
rank.
it was.
Yeah, we
For
were
me
doing
it
a high
was.
rank. I mean, I was laying in bed like 15 minutes from falling asleep. I was like half
Yeah.
asleep, like just completely devastating this Teostra.
Half asleep, doing it in your sleep. You literally were doing it in
I
your sleep.
mean, the muscle memory for that game is so kind of aggressively ingrained in me now.
Hmm.
But again, I mean, 12 years or more of
Yeah.
playing it, and
So
uh,
are you saying that if you learn a monster back in Monster Hunter Generations or Monster Hunter World, it pretty much is going to be the same move set in the current game.
They will add new moves. They'll tweak animation frames and things like that. But yeah, I mean, if you fought a Rathian in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, you kind of know what to expect from a Rathian in
Wow,
Monster Hunter Rise. Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty cool, actually.
it's yeah. I mean, I think I've pulled out the art books before, but I mean, when they design these monsters, they don't design them in a vacuum. I mean, they really do design them thinking about the biology of what the monster is, what their ecology is, like where they
Yeah,
live,
yeah,
and so like there are monsters that live underneath caverns, right? And
mm,
so like and it's not in Monster Hunter Rise which sucks because it's one of my favorite monsters is the Tetsukabra. It's this giant frog monster thing in Monster Hunter Rise in the Hunters hub. The
mm-hmm.
fat Wyverian is sitting on like a tadpole.
Oh yeah,
That's a baby Tetsukabra, right? And so I was
oh
super
wow,
bummed that they didn't bring it back for Monster Hunter Rise. Anyway,
okay,
it's one of my favorite hunts, and it's this creature that lives underground, so it grabs big giant rocks because it chews through rocks to make its tunnel, right? And so they
okay,
think about all of this stuff. They think about the ecology. They think about the biology and the anatomy of the monster. They actually like in some of the concept art that I've seen, they actually they will develop the skeletal structure of the monster, right? So these creatures that they make are very very well thought out. They've spent a lot of time on them,
mm,
and so it would be really weird if the Rathian fundamentally changed from game to game, right?
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
so what they're more likely to do, rather than change a particular monster, is just to create a new one. So if they want a monster to do something, rather than trying to retrofit the Rathian to do it, they'll create a new flying monster like the Astalos or the Seregios or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I appreciate. I mean, it's just it to me it goes to show the level of passion that the creators of this game have for the franchise.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's something to be said about how I can still play it with, and then for you too, like how you can still play it with more novice hunters that play the game, and you can still have a lot of fun just doing it because
Mm-hmm.
you're just playing around, you're getting the parts, and there's something about the game loop that's still pretty special about it that I think they have something that could last forever at this point. I think
Yeah.
the whole idea of looting something after learning how to fight it and everything else. I mean, it's just a really solid game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I totally agree. Well, we're at about 47 minutes. I don't know if you're at a stopping point. Um,
I am actually.
ooh,
So let's
perfect.
see. Yeah, perfect timing actually. So let's go back out. So here on the right side we have Calamity's, the original map packed in 3/4. And if we start
Mm-hmm.
here, I'll just go through frame by frame. But yeah, I got to fix this little gap here. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we got all the basic parts here for her to talk. So we're good.
Cool. That's
Yeah, just
awesome.
got to fix a little bit of cleanup on her, but she's pretty much good to go.
That's fantastic.
Close. She's 80 to 85% done. A little bit of massaging here and there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, now we got this pose that we can use anywhere else where there's a close-up shot of her almost front
That's
front
great.
pose
Well, I
on.
mean, and you can scale this down because it's all vector art,
Hmm.
so it's just
Yep.
any shot that we're looking directly at her from any distance.
Yeah.
This works.
Yeah. This will work. Yep. So this is now part of our recycle bin area to add
That's
to
great.
our library.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we're good. Golden.
Awesome. Well, that was a very successful evening then. So we'll wrap it up there. So I'll do my usual spiel. You can turn off the stream for those of you who have seen this before. But we have a Patreon. Head over to calamityjane.rocks. That will take you to our Patreon site. Consider joining us on this adventure to make this cartoon. Otherwise, you can always find us on YouTube, which is presumably where you're watching this right now. We have a Facebook page as well where we do any updates, whether we're going to cancel the stream or something along those lines. We also have Twitter, at Jane Salamander, and that we do a 3-tweet story every week. Sometimes it's just silly nonsense like this week, you'll see. But we always have some fun with it. Either way, thanks for joining us on the stream tonight. I think we'll be back at the regular time next week. I don't have anything crazy going on, James.
Same here. So
All right.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Stay safe out there, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Good night.
Bye.